The day my father told me I was the problem, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood there, holding my breath, the way you do when you already know the pain is coming and you're tired of reacting to it. It was my 18th birthday. The kitchen smelled like baked chicken and warm bread, the kind my grandmother always made when she wanted the house to feel normal. Everyone was there. My grandmother, my younger brother, a few aunts and cousins sitting quietly around the table, their eyes fixed on their plates like they were afraid to look up. My father didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His words were calm, sharp, and practiced, like he had said them many times in his head before that moment. "Get out," he said. "I'm done paying for another man's mistake. Welcome to Auntie Rose Narrates." Before today's story of betrayal and self-discovery, please subscribe and hit like to help these stories be heard. Drop your city or country in the comments. It always warms my heart. Now let's begin. Then he threw a $50 bill at me. It brushed my shoulder and fell to the floor between us. No one moved. No one spoke. I remember thinking how loud the clock on the wall suddenly sounded, each second echoing in my chest. That was the day I learned how quiet rejection can be. For the next 10 years, I carried a sealed envelope everywhere I went. I kept it in my bag during nursing school. I tucked it under my bed during long nights when sleep wouldn't come. I packed it with me every time I moved apartments, every time I tried to start over somewhere new. Inside that envelope was one piece of paper. Just one, a DNA test result. The truth my father never wanted to see. I could have shown it to him at any time. I could have ended everything that day, but I didn't, not because I was scared. Not because I didn't believe it myself. I waited because some truths deserve witnesses. Some wounds need light, and some people only listen when they have nowhere left to turn away. That moment came at his 60th birthday. Party. There were lights strung across the backyard. Music playing low. Laughter floating through the air like nothing had ever been broken between us. Nearly 80 people stood around celebrating the man who never once celebrated me. I arrived late. I stood at the edge of the crowd. The envelope felt heavier than it ever had before, and when my father finally opened it, and when he looked up and saw who was standing behind me at the gate, the color drained from his face, and for the first time in my life, he couldn't look away. My name is Emily Carter. I was born in a small town outside Columbus, Ohio, where the winters felt long and the summers smelled like cut grass and warm pavement. Our house sat at the end of a quiet street lined with maple trees. It wasn't big. The paint on the porch railings peeled every spring, but it was the only home I knew. When I was little, I used to believe we were like every other American family. My father worked long hours at a local manufacturing plant. My mother stayed home with me and my younger brother, Jacob. On Sundays, we went to church. On holidays, my grandmother hosted dinner. There were photographs on the living room wall, school pictures, birthdays. One of my parents smiling at a county fair long before I was old enough to remember. From the outside, we looked normal, but even as a child, I felt something I couldn't explain. It was a quiet distance, a small space between me and my father that didn't seem to exist between him and Jacob. Jacob was born when I was 5. I remember holding him in the hospital, staring at his tiny fingers. My father cried that day. I had never seen him cry before. He kissed Jacob's forehead and whispered, "My boy." His voice was soft, proud, certain. I don't remember him ever saying "my girl" to me, as a child. You don't question these things. You just notice them. You feel them. You tuck them away without knowing why. My mother tried to keep peace in the house. She had gentle eyes and tired hands. She moved through the kitchen like she was always solving a problem no one else could see. When my father was quiet at dinner, she filled the silence. When he criticized me for small things, my messy handwriting, my slow-mouth homework, she would say softly, "She's trying her best." I loved her for that, but she never pushed back hard enough to stop him. When I was 8, I overheard my parents arguing late one night. Their bedroom door was half closed. I had woken up thirsty and walked down the hallway when I heard my name. "She doesn't even look like me," my father said. There was a long pause. "She's your daughter," my mother answered. Her voice trembled. "Don't," he said. "Don't lie to me." I stood in the hallway, my small hand pressed against the wall, my heart beating in my ears. I didn't understand what he meant. I just understood that somehow I was at the center of something broken. The next morning, everything looked normal again. Pancakes, coffee, my father reading the newspaper. But something had shifted inside me. I started looking at myself in the mirror differently, studying my face, my nose, my eyes, searching for proof of something I couldn't name. Jacob had my father's dark hair and sharp jawline. Everyone said so. He's his father's twin. Relatives would laugh at family gatherings. They said it proudly, like it was a compliment that carried weight. When they looked at me, they would smile politely. "She has her mother's eyes." They'd say, "No one ever said I look like him." As I grew older, the comments became less subtle. My father never hit me. He never shouted in the way some fathers do. His rejection was quieter, more careful. When I brought home good grades, he would nod once. "That's what you're supposed to do." When Jacob scored a goal in soccer, my father lifted him onto his shoulders like he had won something bigger than a game. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself love just looked different sometimes, but children feel patterns. On my 12th birthday, my grandmother gave me a silver bracelet with a tiny heart charm. She held my hands a little longer than usual. "You're stronger than you know," she whispered. I didn't understand why she said it like that, why her eyes looked almost sad. Grandma lived just 3 blocks away. Her house smelled like cinnamon and old books. When things felt heavy at home, I would walk there after school. She would make tea and listen while I talked about teachers, homework, small worries that felt big at the time. She never spoke badly about my father. Not once. But sometimes, when she thought I wasn't looking, she would sigh in a way that felt older than her years. My mother's health began to change when I was 15. It wasn't sudden. It was slow. Tiredness that didn't go away. Doctor visits that lasted longer than expected. Whispered conversations in the kitchen after midnight. She tried to hide it, but I could see fear in her eyes. Through all of that, I tried to be perfect. Perfect grades. Perfect behavior. Perfect silence. If I could just be enough, maybe the distance between my father and me would disappear. But the harder I tried, the more careful he became. Like loving me too much would confirm something he didn't want to believe. When I turned 16, I found a folded document tucked inside my mother's old jewelry box. I wasn't searching for secrets. I was looking for a necklace she said I could borrow for a school dance. The paper was older, slightly yellow at the edges. It had my name on it, a paternity test. My hands started shaking before I even finished reading the first line. The result was clear. Clearer than anything in my life had ever been. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. My father was my biological father. I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time. The house was quiet. Jacob was at a friend's house. My mother was resting. My father was working late. I read the paper again and again, like it might change if I blinked. He knew. That was the first thought that came to me. He knew the truth. And he still chose distance. That hurt more than doubt ever could. Carefully folded the paper and placed it back where I found it. I didn't confront anyone. I didn't ask questions. I just carried the knowledge inside me like a fragile glass. 2 years later, on my 18th birthday, everything finally exploded in that kitchen. But before that day, there were years of small moments. Small silences, small rejections that stacked on top of each other until they felt heavier than bricks. After my mother passed away during my senior year of high school, the house grew colder. Not in temperature, in spirit. She had been the bridge between us. Without her, there was nothing soft left in the rooms. My father became more distant, more rigid. He and Jacob bonded even more tightly, like they were forming a unit of two. I moved through the house like a guest who had overstayed her welcome. Sometimes at dinner, he would look at me with something unreadable in his eyes. Not anger, not even hatred, just suspicion that refused to die, and I would sit there, swallowing words I wanted to say. I almost showed him the document many times. I imagined placing it in front of him quietly, watching his face change, watching relief wash over him, but something stopped me. I didn't want him to love me because of a paper. I wanted him to love me because I was his daughter. So I waited. I graduated high school with honors. I was accepted into a nursing program in Chicago. The night before I left, I stood in my empty bedroom. Posters taken down, closet cleared out. I held that folded D and a result in my hand. It felt like a secret that had grown up with me. I slipped it into a large envelope, sealed it, and wrote nothing on the front. When I walked out of the house the next morning, my father didn't hug me. He stood by the door, hands in his pockets. "Don't expect me to pay for everything," he said. I nodded. "I won't." And that was it. That was how I left home. I didn't know then that it would be 10 years before I would walk back into his life with that envelope still unopened in front of him. 10 years of building myself, 10 years of carrying proof, 10 years of learning that sometimes the deepest wounds aren't loud. They are quiet, and they last. Leaving home didn't make the ache disappear. It only changed its shape. Chicago was louder than Ohio, faster, always moving. The buildings rose high, blocking the sky in a way that made me feel small and anonymous. I rented a tiny apartment near the nursing school. One window, one narrow bed, a desk that wobbled if I leaned on it too hard. But it was mine. I told myself this was a new beginning, a clean page. I told myself I didn't need anything from my father anymore, but the truth was quieter. Every Sunday night, when the city slowed just a little, I felt the same tightness in my chest. The same question I never asked out loud. Why was it so easy for him to believe I wasn't his? Nursing school was harder than I expected. Long days, longer nights. My hands were always tired. My feet always hurt. Still, I liked it. I liked helping people. I liked standing beside a hospital bed and feeling useful, needed. Seen Dad sometimes. After a shift, I would sit on the bus and watch families get on together. Mothers fixing their children's coats. Fathers holding little hands. It wasn't envy exactly. It was something softer, sadder. My father called once during my first year away. Just once. "How's school?" He asked. "Busy," I said. "Good," he replied. Then silence. I waited for more. For any question that sounded like care. None came. "Take care of yourself," he finally said, like he was ending a work call. "You too," I answered. When the line went dead, I stared at my phone for a long time. I felt foolish for expecting more. But hope doesn't disappear just because you ask it to. Jacob visited me once during those years. He was taller, confident. He talked about sports and friends and plans. He didn't talk about home much. And I didn't ask before he left. He said quietly, "Dad doesn't understand you." I smiled. He never tried. Jacob didn't argue. That hurt more than if he had. holidays were the hardest. I worked extra shifts to avoid empty apartments and quiet evenings. On Thanksgiving, the hospital cafeteria served turkey and mashed potatoes. Nurses laughed. Patients watched television. I told myself it was just another day, but every year, my grandmother sent me a card. Inside, she always wrote the same thing. "I'm proud of you." No explanation. No conditions. Those words carried me through more nights than I can count. After I graduated, I stayed in Chicago. I worked in the pediatric ward. Children have a way of breaking your heart open and filling it at the same time. They didn't care about my past. They cared about warm blankets and gentle voices. They cared that I stayed. I became good at staying. My father never visited. He never asked about my work. When we spoke, which wasn't often, our conversations were short and careful. Like two strangers who shared a last name but nothing else. Then came the phone call I didn't expect. "Your grandmother isn't well," my aunt said. "She keeps asking for you." I took time off immediately. When I arrived in Ohio, the town looked smaller than I remembered. The same streets, the same houses. Everything felt frozen in time, except me. Grandma's house smelled the same. Cinnamon, tea, comfort. She reached for my hand when she saw me. Her grip was weak, but her eyes were clear. "You came," she said. "Of course," I answered. We talked quietly. About my job. About Chicago. About small memories. She watched me closely, like she was memorizing my face. One afternoon, she said, "Your father still doesn't see." I swallowed. "See what?" "The truth," she replied gently. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Before I left, she pressed something into my hand. An envelope, sealed. "Hold on to this," she said. "You'll know when." I knew exactly what it was. A second copy. Or maybe the same truth, rewritten in a different way. She passed away 3 months later. The funeral was quiet. My father stood stiffly beside Jacob. When he saw me, his expression tightened. Not grief. Not relief. Something else. Something unresolved. After the service, he pulled me aside. "You don't need to stay long," he said. "We'll handle things." "I'm family," I replied softly. He looked away. "That's complicated." Those words followed me back to Chicago. They echoed in my apartment late at night. That was when the tension changed. It wasn't just distance anymore. It was something pressing. Something waiting. I began dreaming about the envelope. About placing it on a table. About silence breaking open. I woke up with my heart racing, my mind heavy. Months later, my aunt called again. "Your father's turning 60, she said. "Big party. He wants everyone there." I almost laughed. "Everyone? Do I count?" I asked. There was a pause. "You should come," she said carefully. I said yes before I could think. The weeks leading up to the party were restless. I replayed memories. The kitchen, the clock, the $50 bill on the floor. I took the envelope out of my drawer and placed it on my desk. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to embarrass him. I wanted truth to breathe. On the day of the party, I arrived late on purpose. Cars lined the street. Laughter drifted through the open gate. Music played softly. Strings of lights glowed against the evening sky. I stood at the edge of the yard, the envelope heavy in my hand. My father was smiling, laughing, surrounded by people who believed they knew him. I took one step forward, and that was when I saw him, a man standing near the gate, older, nervous, watching the house like it held something he had been avoiding. His whole life, our eyes met. He nodded slowly, and in that moment, I realized the story was about to change forever. And when my father finally noticed us both standing there, everything he believed was about to come undone. For a few seconds, I stayed where I was, just outside the circle of lights, just outside the sound of laughter. The envelope pressed flat against my palm, warm from my grip. The man near the gate didn't move closer. He didn't wave. He just stood there like someone waiting for permission to exist. I had imagined this moment so many times. In my mind, it was always loud. Voices raised, gasps, maybe tears. But standing there, the world felt strangely calm. Too calm. Like the quiet right before a storm that hasn't decided where to land. I took another step forward. Someone laughed nearby. A glass clinked. The smell of grilled food hung in the air. My father stood at the center of it all, smiling wide, shoulders relaxed, enjoying the attention. 60 years old, surrounded by friends, coworkers, family. People who had watched him grow older, steadier, more certain of himself. People who had no idea. As I moved closer, a few heads turned. Someone recognized me. I saw confusion flicker across faces, then polite smiles. A couple of quiet nods. No one said my name out loud. It was like they weren't sure if they were allowed to. My father noticed the shift before he saw me. His smile faded slightly as he followed the direction of their eyes. When his gaze landed on me, his expression stiffened, just for a moment, then he recovered. He always did. "You came," he said, walking toward me with measured steps. "I did," I replied. He glanced at my hand. At the envelope. His jaw tightened. "Now isn't the time," he said quietly. "I think it is," I answered. He leaned closer. "You're going to make a scene." "I'm not here to shout," I said. "I'm here to tell the truth." Behind me, I felt movement. I didn't have to turn around to know the man by the gate had stepped closer. I could feel his presence like a shadow stretching toward the light. My father noticed him then. "Who is that?" he asked. Before I could answer, the man spoke. "My name is Thomas," he said. His voice was steady, but his hands shook. "I think we need to talk." The air shifted. Conversations nearby slowed. Someone turned the music down. My father stared at Thomas like he was trying to place a memory he had buried too deep to recognize. "I don't know you," my father said. Thomas nodded. "I know, but I know you." Silence spread outward, pulling attention toward us. People stopped pretending not to listen. This was no longer just a family moment. It was public, unavoidable. My father looked at me again. His eyes were sharp now, alert. "What is this?" he asked. I held out the envelope. "This is what you never wanted to see." He didn't take it. "I already told you," he said through clenched teeth. "This isn't." "Open it," I said softly. Something in my voice made him hesitate. Maybe it was the calm. Maybe it was the certainty. Slowly, he took the envelope. His fingers brushed mine. They were cold. He opened it. The paper inside rustled in the quiet. He scanned the first line, then the second. His face didn't change right away. Not dramatically. It was subtle, like a structure beginning to crack from the inside. He looked up at me. "Where did you get this?" "You've seen it before," I said. "Mom kept it." His mouth opened slightly. "Closed again. That test," he said, "was wrong." Thomas spoke again. "It wasn't." My father turned to him sharply. "Stay out of this." Thomas took a breath. "I can't, not anymore." The crowd had fully gathered now. People stood in a loose circle, watching without speaking. Some looked uncomfortable, others curious. A few already emotional, sensing something important unfolding. "What are you saying?" my father demanded. Thomas looked at me, then back at him. "I'm saying she's your daughter. She always has been." My father laughed once. A short, humorless sound. "You expect me to believe this?" he said. "After all these years?" I reached into my bag and pulled out another envelope. the one my grandmother had given me. I handed it to him without a word. He hesitated longer this time, but the eyes around him were heavy, waiting. He opened it. This time, his hands shook. Inside was a letter, written in my grandmother's careful handwriting. He read it slowly. His lips moved as he did. With each line, his face lost more color. His shoulders sagged. The man I had known all my life seemed to shrink in on himself. What does it say? Someone whispered from the crowd. My father didn't answer. Thomas spoke quietly. It says the truth. About the affair. About the timing. About the lies that were told because people were scared. My father's voice came out rough. You lied to me. Thomas shook his head. No, I stayed silent. There's a difference. My father looked at me again. This time, his eyes weren't sharp. They were lost, all these years, he said. I believed. I know, I replied. You let me believe it, he said. I swallowed. I was a child. The weight of that sentence settled hard between us. He turned away, pressing a hand to his mouth. For a moment, I thought he might fall. Jacob moved closer, instinctively reaching out, but my father waved him away. I built my life around a lie, he said. No, Thomas replied gently. You built it around fear? The crowd shifted. Someone started crying quietly. My aunt covered her mouth. No one interrupted. My father faced me again. Why now? I took a breath. Because I didn't want to live my whole life being blamed for something I never did. He nodded slowly. And the man? He asked, gesturing weakly toward Thomas. Why is he here? Thomas answered. Because she deserved to know someone was willing to stand up for her. My father closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were wet. I treated you like a stranger, he said to me. I punished you for my doubts. I didn't respond right away. I felt a strange emptiness. Not relief. Not anger. Just exhaustion. I waited 10 years, I said quietly. I waited for you to see me. He stepped closer. For the first time in my life, he reached out without hesitation. His hand hovered near my shoulder, unsure. I don't know how to fix this, he said. I don't either, I replied. The party had fully dissolved now. No one spoke. No one moved. The lights above us flickered softly in the night air. My father looked around, finally understanding the cost of his silence. Of his certainty. I was wrong, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The words landed heavy, but wrongness doesn't erase years. It doesn't restore childhoods or fill empty holidays. I stepped back. I didn't come here for an apology, I said. I came for truth. He nodded. And now? I looked at Thomas, then at Jacob, then back at the man who had shaped my pain. Now, I said, I need time. I turned away before he could say anything else. Behind me, I heard him call my name. Not sharply, not angrily. Softly. Like he was finally learning how. As I walked toward my car, the night air felt different, heavier, but clearer. The truth was out. The lie was broken, but healing had not even begun. And what happened next would test whether truth alone is ever enough to mend a family. I didn't drive right away. I sat in my car with both hands resting on the steering wheel, staring at the dashboard like it might tell me what to do next. My chest felt tight, but not in the sharp way it used to. This was different. This was the weight that comes after something finally breaks open. I had imagined this moment for years. I thought I would feel victorious, or relieved, or angry enough to shake. Instead, I felt empty, like a room after the furniture has been moved out, quiet, bare. On a stop, I drove back to my hotel slowly. Windows cracked open, letting the night air touch my face. The town looked the same as always. Streetlights, closed shops, familiar corners. But I wasn't the same person who had arrived earlier that day. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my father's face as he read the letter. The way his certainty collapsed. The way his voice changed when he said my name, not the name he used when he was distant. My name died in the morning. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message from Jacob. Dad wants to talk to you. No pressure. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. I'll think about it. I typed that was the truth. I didn't know what I wanted yet. Grief doesn't end when the truth comes out. Sometimes it starts there. I walked through town that morning, past the park where I used to sit after school, past the library where my mother would take us on Saturdays. Every place held a memory. Some warm, some heavy. All of them real. I realized then how much of my life I had spent bracing myself, preparing for rejection before it happened, carrying proof of my worth instead of believing it. That afternoon, I visited my grandmother's grave. I brought flowers and sat on the grass beside the headstone. The wind moved gently through the trees. You knew, I whispered. You always knew? I imagined her voice in my head, calm, certain. Of course I did. I smiled for the first time in days. That evening, I decided to see my father. He was alone in the house when I arrived. The same house, the same kitchen, but it felt different now. Smaller, quieter, like it was waiting. He stood when he saw me. He looked tired, older than he had the night before. Thank you for coming, he said. I nodded and sat across from him at the kitchen table. The same table where everything had shattered years ago. I won't keep you long, he said. I needed to say something. I waited. I was wrong, he said again. Not just about the test, about everything. He folded his hands together, then unfolded them. He didn't know what to do with them. I let my fear decide who you were, he continued. And I punished you for it? I listened. I didn't interrupt. I had waited years for him to speak. I wasn't going to rush him now. When your mother got pregnant, he said, someone planted doubt in my head. And instead of facing it, I let it grow. He looked up at me. I'm so sorry. The words landed gently. They didn't erase anything, but they mattered. I don't need you to fix the past, I said. I just need you to understand what it did to me. He nodded slowly. I think I do. Silence filled the space between us. Not the sharp silence of before. A softer one. I don't know what forgiveness looks like, I said honestly. I'm not there yet. I understand, he replied. I'll wait. That was new. I stayed for an hour. We talked about small things. My work, his retirement plans. Nothing heavy, nothing forced. When I left, he hugged me, carefully, like he was afraid I might disappear if he held on too tight. I drove back to Chicago. The next day, life didn't change overnight. Healing never does. Some mornings, I still woke up feeling like that unwanted girl standing in the kitchen. But other mornings, I felt lighter. Like I wasn't carrying someone else's doubt anymore. My father started calling. Not often, but regularly. He asked about my job. He listened to the answers. Sometimes he didn't know what to say. Sometimes neither did I. We were learning. Jacob visited me again a few months later. This time, he hugged me first. I should have spoken up, he said. You were a kid, I replied. So were you. That mattered too. Thomas wrote me a letter. He apologized for waiting so long. I didn't hold anger toward him. Silence can come from fear. I knew that better than anyone. Over time, the sharp edges of the past softened. But they didn't disappear. They just stopped cutting as deeply. One afternoon, my father visited the hospital where I worked. I watched him stand in the hallway, hands in his pockets, looking unsure. You're good at this, he said after watching me with a patient. I know, I answered. He smiled. A real one. That was the moment I realized something important. I didn't need his approval to be whole, but receiving it felt like closure I didn't know I still wanted. Forgiveness didn't arrive all at once. It came in pieces, in conversations, in shared silence. An effort died in one day. Without announcing itself, it stayed. But just when I thought the story had reached its calm ending, something unexpected arrived, a truth I hadn't been prepared for, and it would change how I understood family forever. A few months after my father visited the hospital, I invited him to dinner at my apartment in Chicago. It wasn't a big gesture, just a quiet meal. Pasta, salad, a small table set for two. But it felt important. He arrived early, holding a small box of flowers, like he wasn't sure what was appropriate. He looked around my apartment slowly, taking in the framed photos, the bookshelf, the soft lamp in the corner. You built all this on your own, he said. Yes, I answered gently. I did. There was no bitterness in my voice, just truth. We ate and talked about ordinary things, work, the weather, Jacob's new job. At one point, the conversation faded into a comfortable silence. Not the painful kind from years ago. This one felt earned. After dinner, he stood near the window, looking out at the city lights. I missed a lot, he said quietly. You did, I replied. He nodded. But I don't want to miss what's left. I walked over and stood beside him. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I had to prove anything. Not my worth, not my place, not my blood. Family, I've learned, is not just about certainty. It's about choice. It's about showing up even when it's uncomfortable. It's about admitting when you were wrong and staying long enough to make it right. My father and I will never get those lost years back. Childhood doesn't wait, but we have something now we didn't have before. Honesty. Effort. A beginning that came later than it should have. Sometimes I still think about that. 8-year-old girl standing in the kitchen, a $50 bill at her feet. I wish I could walk back into that moment and tell her something simple. You are not the problem. You never were. The doubts of others do not define you. Silence does not erase your truth. And love, even when it is delayed, can still arrive. Slowly. Carefully. One evening at a time. Last week, my father called just to ask how my day was. Nothing urgent, nothing dramatic, just a simple question. And when we ended the call, he said something he had never said before. I'm proud of you, Emily. I closed my eyes and let those words settle. Healing doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with steady steps, with conversations that feel awkward at first, with forgiveness that grows quietly in the background. Our story didn't end at the party. It didn't end with the envelope. It didn't even end with the apology. It continues, not perfectly, not magically. But honestly. And sometimes that is more than enough.